Hello, and welcome. There's a beautiful Birchel's starling sitting on top of a dead leadwood tree that is surrounded by a live Timbuti tree. Now, a big welcome to Brookmill School in Germany, and well as Slippery Rocks in the USA. My name is Brent Leo Smith, and I have my good friend and cameraman Wim, aka The Wildebeest, on camera with me today, and we're going to take you on a fantastic African adventure. I would love to get all your questions. It will be really nice, and if you don't send enough questions, I'll start quizzing you, so you better get on it as quick as possible. So let me know also what you guys would like to see. Let's go back to these Birchel starlings at the moment. We are heading off to look for leopard, but they are sitting so nicely in the sunshine. And you'll see these starlings have a wonderful iridescent color that shines in the sunshine. They don't have the best voices, but they are very beautiful. Now, that iridescence is very important in starlings. Oh, he just regurgitated something there. It could have been a seed or something that he couldn't digest, got stuck in its crop, and it just spat it out. So there we go. So that iridescence is very important. Now, the shiner you are as a starling, the better looking you are to opposite members of the sex. Well, there we go. That one's also regurgitating. They actually look to be like guarri bush fruits. I'll try to find you some of those fruits. So that the pip is really hard like a stone. So too many of them won't be too good for them. So they will eat the flesh and regurgitate the fruit. Regurgitate the seed. Now, hello, Bree. Bree, it is 33 degrees Celsius, which is about 90 Fahrenheit. Or 93 Fahrenheit, if I remember correctly. So it is quite warm, and we're hoping that the big cats are having a nap. But, of course, there's lots of wonderful things out here to find, and sometimes they're not alive. Let's go and see what my good friend Tristan has found.
Well, that's exactly true, Brent. Sometimes we have situations where we find animals that are dead. Now, this is a dead scrub hare. What has happened to it, I'm not quite sure. What I can tell you, though, is that it's been fed upon by a few birds of prey, because as we got here, one or two birds were flying off. Anyway, as Brent mentioned, my name is Tristan, and on camera today I've got Craig, and it is a very warm welcome to all of you that are joining us this afternoon, and especially the two schools that have joined us. Now, this scrub hare in all likelihood was not killed by the bird of prey that we actually saw here. The bird that we saw was called a battalier eagle. Now, battalier eagles are generally scavengers, and so what's probably happened is this might have been killed by something else and then left on the side. Now, I can't see what has killed it because the eagles have eaten the whole face away, and they've eaten a little bit into the tummy cavity as well, which is not ideal at all. So we can't really tell what's killed it. It looks as though there's been a bit of movement around here because the grass has been quite squashed by various things, and so I think maybe what you found is a couple of different birds have landed during the day and have kind of eaten a little bit of this. And tonight you'll find that this little scrub here in all likelihood will be taken by something like a hyena or a jackal. So those are guys that come out at night and they'll feed off this in 2 seconds and gobble that up and finish it very quickly. The problem is that it smells pretty bad. And the thing is, I don't really want to sit here much longer because the smell is quite bad, and so we're going to carry on. Now, Tony, the most aggressive animals, well, it depends on the day, I suppose. Probably the most aggressive in terms of being on foot would be, so when we're walking around, would be buffalo. They would be probably the most aggressive. And then on a vehicle like this, the one that you would have to worry about the most is probably elephants. So elephants, even though in this area generally are very docile, sometimes you'll get a situation where they can be a bit aggressive and they can cause a lot more damage. There's one or two of our leopards that sometimes also can be quite feisty when they want to be, and they'll show their teeth and they'll sometimes even kind of charge a little bit at the cars, but that's not that common. It's really only one female that we see that has that behavior from time to time. So it's mostly, I would say, elephants are probably the one that we worry about the most in terms of aggression. Now, I've just been mentioning dangerous animals and things that could be aggressive, and it seems that my friend Steve, who's also out and about, has found one of those animals.
Good afternoon, boys and girls. Look at what we have found. We were just driving along in the heat of the South African summer, or autumn, should we say, and we found ourselves not one, not two, but 11 lions lying up, hidden in the bushes there. We can only really see one of them properly at the moment, but we will reposition shortly to get a better view. Welcome. My name is Steve Falconbridge. I'm joined on camera by Fergus, and we have found the Nkuhuma lions. This is unbelievable. We were on our way south, somewhere else, to look for other things. We thought these animals had disappeared, and here they are, lo and behold. Please send your questions through with your teacher. Let us know what you'd like to see and talk about. We've got lions. They are dangerous animals. We are quite close in the vehicle, but we are relatively safe. Let us know your thoughts and questions. We'd obviously like to answer them. It is a very nice 33 degrees Celsius, 91 degrees Fahrenheit. Lucy, how far can we, or how close can we get and still be safe? In the vehicle, I would only go up to about 4 or 5 meters away from them, parked. But sometimes they come closer and they sit next to the car, and that's perfectly fine because they close that gap. But I wouldn't drive right in there and park right on top of the lions, because that's just going to influence their behavior. But essentially, these lions see us as a big box. We smell of fuel, we smell of petrol, we're green, and we make a lot of noise, and so they don't see us as food. But if I climbed out of the car, you probably noticed when Fergus was looking at me there that I don't have a door. So if I climbed out of the car and they saw me as a human being, then I could potentially be in a lot of trouble. But we will not do that. That is just silly. We will not do that. But we're perfectly safe in the car. There is not one recorded case in history in the game driving industry of someone being pulled off of a car by a lion. Okay, so marvelous. We have got the Nkuhuma Pride, and they are doing exactly what lions do at this time of day, lying very, very flat. And the individual we're looking at there is one of the younger members. He is the only male in the Pride. Now, some of you might be thinking shame, and indeed, shame is all by himself with regards to being a masculine young boy. But he's only about 15, 16 months. And he has siblings and cousins that are around the same age. There are 6 of them, about the same age of between 14 and 17 months. And then 5 adult lioness. Can you see around his neck, he's developing a little bit more hair. And that is the beginnings of a mane. You can see that there. That's the beginning of the mane. That when he becomes older and dominant, it assists when they fight. Because when male lions fight, they hit each other and they go for the neck. And it's like sort of like a knight, wearing armor and wearing a chain mail coat around the neck. It protects the vital areas from claws and teeth. But right now, they are just relaxing and lying very flat in the shade, close to the river. Okay, so these lions are not going anywhere, and we're going to stay with them a little while longer. But let's go to Tristan, who has got a spider.
We do. We have one of our most amazing spiders that we get here in South Africa. It is called a golden orbweb spider. Now, many of you will think that this is the most horrific thing you've ever seen. I know a lot of people don't like spiders, but actually, they're incredibly beautiful. They've got these kind of black legs with these bright yellow markings, and they build the most amazing webs. Their webs have a very golden coloration to it, particularly the stabilizing lines. So the really thick silk that they spin has got a gold tinge to it. And that gold tinge is where they get the golden orbweb spider name. So because of that coloration is where it comes from. Now, what you'll see is that this spider, which is a big female, and the females in the spider world are much larger than the males, has built a massive web, but it's got a whole bunch of things that are in its web at the moment. And so where it's sitting, if you just go up a little bit for me, Craig, there we go, you can see there's all kinds of things that have been kind of woven into the web. Now, some of that is food that it has basically killed and gotten stuck in the web and it's fed off. Others is little bits of leaves and bark. Now, the reason why they would do that is because when animals are walking around here, you can see the web is very difficult to see. But the actual sort of little bits that are put into that web, so there's little leaves and those kind of things, make it much easier for animals to be able to pick it up, and they're able then to not walk through their web and to leave the web alone, because nobody wants spider web on their face, and so even the animals will avoid that and go around. And that thing is known as a stabilimentum, so that's what it's called when spiders build this into their web and to create it. But it is an amazing creature, and I was saying it's interesting because this particular, or spiders in general, when they sew the silk is absolutely microscopic in terms of its diameter. It's very, very, very small, and when you take this silk and you had to upscale it and make it much, much bigger, if you made it about 3 centimeters in sort of diameter, it would be able to stop a jumbo jet or a Boeing 747 that is going at full speed in the air. That's how strong and how much stretch it's got in these webs. So an incredible thing to see. And I know that in the local communities, they often used to use the spider in order to hunt. And so you might be thinking, why would they use the spider to hunt? Well, what they would try and do is chase birds towards these webs. Because of how strong they are, birds would get stuck, and then they could walk up and grab the bird from the web and be able to kill it. So it's an amazing thing to see. Now, this is not the only spider actually on this web. Now, you see there just in front, there is a tiny little spider that's kind of to the bottom of the legs. There it is. Now, that little spider is called a dewdrop spider. Now, dewdrop spiders have a silvery kind of appearance to them that look just as though a little dewdrop is formed on the web. And these spiders are kleptomaniacs, which means that they steal from this ore web. So they don't have venom that is enough to subdue a lot of creatures out here, or a lot of insects. And so they live on the webs of other spiders. And as these big spiders catch food and they inject their venom and then they go off to rest, these tiny little dewdrop spiders, which are so small that they don't provide a vibration on the web to trigger that big orb web spider to come in, they're able to then go and steal food from the orb web spider. It's pretty amazing to see. So very, very cool. So, Paul, that gold coloration is, to be honest, I'm not sure why it's... Cole, my fault. Now, I'm not exactly sure. Sorry, the car's not staying in gear. Sorry, Craig. There we go. The golden coloration that comes out of the spider, what the actual substance is that causes that gold, I have no idea. I'll try and find out for you and try and see if I can get the answer for you before we finish up today. But it's basically, I would imagine, is some sort of enzyme that is secreted with the web itself that causes this golden coloration. You don't see it much on any other spider, so I haven't seen any other spiders producing a gold color, but I'm pretty sure it must be oh, there we go. Look, it's just caught something. You see that? So it's grabbing it and it's injecting venom now. So it looks like some sort of small flying insect that it's managed to grab. What have you got there? It's very, very small. There's another one that it's got. It looks like tiny little flying insects. There we go. It's just basically consumed them. So instead of actually wrapping them up in web, it was small enough for them to consume, and they've just carried on, which is absolutely amazing. But you see how she's able to walk along her web. She's got very sort of small legs that have little sort of clamps on it, and even though if I had to go and put my hand there, that whole web will stick to me, she has basically lines and structures within that web that are not sticky, and she knows exactly where to put her feet in order to get across her web without getting stuck herself, which is pretty amazing. Absolutely incredible. Very, very cool. So it shows you that sometimes it's not always about the big predators like the lions. Sometimes these guys are just as important to have a look at. Good. Well, we're going to carry on. We're going to see what else we can find. While we do that, let's send you back to the other big predators that we have out here with Steve.
Yes, and we've moved around, boys and girls, and we have now got the rest of the lions. I apologize for a little bit of the car in the front of the shot there, but we've found the rest of the pride. Now, they're number 11 in total, and this is the rest of them here. There's one of the adult lioness, one of the leaders of the pride, and they're enjoying a little bit of shade because they like to move around more at night time. And it is a lot of energy that they spend to move around in the day. So this is generally what lions do during the daytime. Ms. Huber-Kunath, you want to know when is a lion fully grown? At about 3 years of age, they start sort of showing maturity. The females will be reproductive, and the males, as you saw that one youngster there, he's half that age now. They will get pushed away from the pride, and then they have to move away to go find a pride of their own, or to get old enough and big enough to then dominate a pride of their own. But normally about 3, you'd say that the females are at a reproductive stage. They've still got a bit of growing to go. So between 4 and 5, I'd say that's when lions come into their full maturity. and male lions at about 4.5 to 6 is their absolute prime of age. So that mane will get bigger and bigger for the protection of him during fighting. And quite often, and if any of you have seen pictures of male lions before, you'll see how big that mane is. And it often is quite dark and quite black. And quite often, just the color and size of the mane is enough to deter another male from fighting. It is a genetic thing, the color and size of a mane, but sometimes with a really big, thick, dark mane, that lion can avoid confrontation just by looking bigger and looking meaner. Like for anyone who's ever walked into a bar or into a nightclub and have a look and see a really big, hairy man with a beard or a smaller man without a beard, the chances are you're not going to pick a fight with the big, hairy man. You're going to avoid him at all costs, because he just looks mean and dangerous. That is kind of what it's going for a little bit more size and obviously, what's the right word? I can't think of the word. But he makes himself look bigger, so it's almost like a false promise. But if you have to fight, if the male lion has to fight every single time they see other males, they're not going to live very long. So if they can avoid confrontation just by looking bigger, then they will live a lot longer, and they'll only fight against males that feel they are big enough and strong enough to compete. Alexis, the wound on her hip is, yes, it is a very bad wound. It's looking a lot better than it did. It was probably the size of an American soccer ball at one stage. It was enormous. And then it healed up. There was only a small gash there. And then this pride had an encounter with another pride to our northern boundary. And since that encounter, that wound has opened up again. But it doesn't look nearly as bad as it used to. And she is still doing quite well. She is the oldest member of the pride. She is probably the mother to a few of the older lionesses. And then she has got 2 cubs of her own. So she's a very successful member. She's the granny of the pride. Luca, the adults in the pride, let me just have a quick look. We've got some new ID kits that we got the other day. So they reckon that the one we were looking at there was born in 2007, 2008. So that makes her around 10 years of age, where the rest are born between 2012 and 2014. Makes them a bit younger, but lions can live up to about 13, maybe 14 in the wild, and they are able to do so because they live in a pride like this. You've got more than one female who does the hunting, so they assist each other in the efforts like a team. And so she will do very, very well for some time because the other lionesses will help with the catching of food. So she will get fed for a long time. Males, on the other hand, 10 is a very long time. 10, 11 is a very old male lion because they are out on their own. No one is doing the hunting for them anymore when they're that old. And everyone's trying to fight them. So they run and they lose condition quite quickly. So females, because of the support of the pride, can do a lot better. Regina wants to know if male and females are equal in weight, and that is a very big no. Essentially, females weigh about 135 to 140 kilograms, so close to 300 pounds, whereas males can get up to 240 to 80 kilograms. So more than 450 to 500 pounds. So the weight there is huge. There's a huge difference in weight, and a female has no chance on her own against a male. But as a group, they can push out new males that come in. They do have that ability, because what we do know, when males come into an area that they're not normally from, they will try and kill the cubs in the pride. And so the females have to be very, very strict and very strong to push away new males so they don't kill their cubs. Sounds like a very sad way to go, but it is part and parcel of what happens in the lion ecological world. Okay, well, we're probably going to leave these lions for a little bit. I'm sure they're not going to be going anywhere, but let's go over to Brent and see what he's up to.
When it's hot like this, it's a very good time to go check a water hole. So that's what we're going to do. We're probably about a minute or so, maybe not even, away from the waterhole. Now, I had very fresh footprints of a female leopard just over here today, and I'm wondering whether she might have come down for a drink when it got hot. So there's only 2 waterholes close to where I last had her footprints, so I'm going to go check those first, and I might... Oh, ow. He's got him, Vim. There we go. That is a tiny little owlet. It's called a pearl-spotted owl. There we go. You can see little pearl spots on it now. Isn't it a pretty little thing? It is. And if... Oh, now wait till you can see its eye there. Now, turn your head, little owl. Look the other way. I want to show you. There, look at that. See, it's got 2 fake eyes on the back of its head. Now, that's one of its ways to protect itself from predators. So it always looks like it's looking at you. So it's got 2 fake eyes on the back of its head. The pearl-spotted owlet. And so it really takes the 360-degree vision to a new level. Now, they are mostly insectivores. They will eat some small bird species. And you can see how tiny it is. Let's see if we can get a little bit closer to it. Don't fly away, little owl. Just going to try and get on the other side of it where the light's a bit better. Now, if he gets spotted, how's that, Vim? By the other birds, it's going to get absolutely mobbed and attacked. There we go. I can give a slightly better view. Now you can see why it's called a pearl-spotted owlet. You see all those little round dots. It's got them on its back and on its head. Little white spots that look like pearls. Now, the only reason this little owl is flying is probably because it has been found out by birds, and the birds have chased it. Now, a lot of animals will alarm call when they see a predator, whether it's avian or not. Isn't that cool? Now, we've just about to arrive at the waterhole. So, wow. Now, as I said, animals will alarm at predators. And there is a squirrel that spotted that owl, and now the squirrel is alarming. It's telling everyone, watch out, there's an owl, careful everyone, owl. Very cute little fellow, a little bush squirrel. Now see, if there was a leopard or a slender mongoose or something that might eat the squirrel on the ground, it wouldn't come down onto the ground and alarm call. It would have stayed up in the trees where it thinks it's got a better chance of hiding. Now, Stacy, the best time to go on safari is in the early morning and late afternoon. And that's when we go on safari. So we head out now while it's a little bit hot. We'll normally check the water holes and such. And then as it starts getting cooler, the lions and leopards normally start getting moving. Now, the best time of the year to go on safari all depends on what you like. My favorite time of the year is the dry season, when the animals are more concentrated around water holes. You get lots of big herds of elephants. Oh, there's a kudu. Now, those lions you saw with Steve have actually been eating quite a few of this antelope. I think they've eaten 3 or 4 in the last week or so. There we go. A female kudu. The males have horns. Having a nice little snack down by the waterhole. Okay, well, let me just go a bit forward here. There's some hippos, and in the meantime, an excellent question from Maxie. Maxie wants to know, are there any poisonous plants? I'm going to show you a very cool poisonous plant right now, Maxie. But let's get closer to the hippo. Then I'll show you the plant. But I've got it. in my hand. Yes, Maxie, there's quite a few poisonous plants to answer your question, but I'm going to show you the hippos and then I'll tell you more about the poisonous plants. Hello, hippopotami, wallowing in the waterhole. Now, normally in this waterhole we've got 3 young boys who have been kicked out of their main herd because they were getting a bit old, and the dominant males around the herd don't want any boys sneaking any mating chances with their females. So they'll move out into an isolated waterhole like this till they are strong enough or old enough to challenge the dominant bull. Now, a hippo can't swim, even though it lives in the water, but they can hold their breath for about 5 minutes. So how they move around is they actually run along the bottom of the water to get to different shallow spots. These are shy hippo, they don't want to be seen. There we go, one's popped out now. There we go. Looking very comfy. There are baby animals around at the moment. Certain species of mammal will give birth throughout the year. So yes, there are some babies around. A lot of the antelope species that have seasonal breeding, like impala and wildebeest, do not have babies at the moment. But there's lots of kudu babies around. There's baby hippos. But let me chat quickly about this very cool poisonous plant. So there we go. It doesn't have a common English name, it only has a scientific name. It is called a Wolfaria indica. Now, it is poisonous if you eat it, but we don't eat it. But some things do. There's a species of butterfly, a very beautiful species of butterfly called the acrea butterfly, that feed off this plant as their host. Now, the reason the caterpillars will feed off this plant is they sequester hydrogen cyanide from the plant, which makes the caterpillars noxious or poisonous to birds and other animals. And then when they eventually emerge as a butterfly, the adult butterflies also come out as poisonous. Now, because they're poisonous, they don't fly fast. They sort of fly very lazily, letting everyone see them because they're bright red. And that is called aposematic coloring, which basically means they're bright red color to tell all the birds, listen, if you eat me, you are going to be so sick, so don't. So they don't try fly fast, they fly very slowly and flap around, and that's what they do to make sure they don't get eaten as adults and as caterpillars. Now, always there's special creatures that develop immunities to different poisons to control those animals, but in the case of the caterpillars, it's actually other insects that can digest them without getting sick. Okay, I'm going to continue looking for my female leopard. While we do that, let's go see where Steve's off to next.
Thank you, Brent. Thank you, Brent. Reports that there was a leopard in the area. We've just come off road to the last position of where he was seen this morning, and we're looking in the shade, we're looking all around. We hope we're going to find it. This is my favorite leopard in the whole wide world. We have lots of leopards in the area, but this is a young leopard by the name of Hosana, which means little chief. He is set to take over the reign of the area as he gets older. He's only just over 2 years of age. I believe he had some meat this morning, so when there's meat they generally stay where you left them. So I wonder where he might be hiding. I can't smell anything, but it's also a good chance that he's moved off. But while we look for him, let's go with Tristan, who'd like to show you some tracks.
Indeed I would. So these tracks are fairly good tracks. They're on top of my vehicle tracks from this morning, and it looks like tracks for a single lioness, which is very, very interesting because we don't know which lioness this could be. Our pride that we normally see is the one that Steve showed you just now, and so who this is, I have absolutely no idea. But the reason why we know it's a lioness is because of its size, right? It's not massive compared to what the male lions would have. A male lion's track would be about the size of my hand. So you can see if I put my hand next to it, it's not quite that big. But what we do have is we've got these 4 toes, 1, 2, 3, 4, that are there, that are very kind of big and round, and there's no claws on the front. So immediately you know it has to be a cat. If there was claws on the front, it would be something like a hyena. And then on the back here, we've got 1, 2, and 3 lobes that come off. Now, 3 lobes is also indication of a lion or a cat in general. But the size of it is far too big for any of our leopards. The toes are too big and the pad itself to be too big for a male leopard. And so this has to be a female lion. Now, the problem is that I don't understand why she would be on her own. It's very seldom that we have a lioness by themselves. There could be a situation where an old lioness that we saw a few months ago that walked through here by herself, it might be her coming around here. So I just want to double check and see if we can find her. Like I say, these tracks are from during the sort of late morning, and they have been driven over by some vehicles, but they haven't really kind of been destroyed too badly, and it seems as though they keep going northwards. So I want to turn around and try and see where they actually go. Kenzel, it's difficult to measure strength with predators because of the size differences between them. So something like a lion is very, very powerful because it's the biggest one. So it's got far too much sort of power for any of the other animals out here in terms of other predators because of just its size. Now, if you had to actually make them all the same size, a lion wouldn't be your strongest predator at all. You'd find that in this area, probably pound for pound, your strongest predator would be something called a caracal. Before we go into our lion tracks, there's something that I want to show you that's just walked past. So I was busy turning, but down the road crossed something and caught my eye. So I just want to head back down quickly. The car's making a bit of a noise, which it does sometimes do. I thought I heard something big walking around just now, but I didn't really pay too much attention. So I'm hoping that I'll find it for you now fairly quickly. Where's it gone, Craig? Oh, there it is. I can see it. So it is the largest animal that we get out here, and one that shouldn't be too difficult to find, but I'll hopefully be able to pick it up for you fairly shortly. Where have you gone? Oh, there you are. So it's a young bull elephant. Right, let's go through and just try and get a better view of it from behind the bush. Now, Alana, the biggest population of animals that we have here is probably termites. Now, termites I know are not a mammal, but they are considered part of the animal kingdom, and so termites would be the most animals that we have here. There's millions and millions and millions and millions of termites in this area, and they build all kinds of crazy cool structures, which we'll try and show you a little bit later, but they're the most sort of numerous in terms of animals. If we say in mammals, the most common mammal that we have and the most numerous of the mammals that we have is what's called an impala, which is very similar to a deer in a lot of respects, a similar size, and we do have lots of them. I'm sure between Brent, myself, and Steve, we'll be able to find you an impala so we can show you it. Now, I was saying just now, this is a young bull ellie. He's probably still just kind of gone off on his own, and I know, Alexis, you wanted to see ellies this afternoon, so I hope that you're enjoying the fact that we found one. And this young bull ellie, as you can see, is going to have himself a good mud bath. Elephants love a mud bath, and the reason why is because they get seriously hot. They're a big animal, and the sun hits them, and because of their dark coloration, they can get quite hot quite quickly. So what they do is they go to water points like this, and then they start to throw mud and water all over them to cool themselves down. But watch when they throw the mud and water. See where they throw it. They'll throw it mostly under their tummy, so between their legs, which cools down that soft skin on the tummy, and then around the ears. You see how the ears are the wettest of the whole body? Now, the reason why they're doing that is because their ears are vitally important to stay cool. They have a situation where they flap those ears and they have a rich network of veins on the back side of the ear. So the front side is thick skin that protects those veins, but on the back side is soft, thin skin, and these huge veins and all the blood that runs there. And so when they spray water on it, it immediately cools down that blood and then sends the cooler blood back into the body. And as they flap when those ears are wet, so they're creating cooling through evaporation, and you'll find that those ears stay nice and cold. And funny enough, if you touch an elephant's ears, obviously you can't really touch elephants, but if sometimes they get darted if they're injured or something like that, and you touch the front side of the ear will be quite sort of cool, and the back side is actually quite warm where that heat is radiating off. It's pretty incredible to kind of feel it. So amazing animals, and this particular boy is just going to have a quick drink. So Blake, luckily I've never had a serious attack from an elephant in the car. It does happen, and there's many people who have been attacked very badly, and some people who have even been killed in vehicles. But luckily enough, I haven't had that problem. I've had a situation where I've been charged by a lot of elephants and warning me and trying to show aggressive behavior, but luckily have been able to get out of the way and not have to worry about them hurting me. So I've been fortunate in some respects with that, but I know that Brent has had a few close calls with elephants, and I'm sure Steve has got some very interesting stories with Ellies as well, because Steve worked in an area in the north of us called the Makoleki, and a lot of the elephants there are a little bit kind of more feisty than the elephants down here. Our elephants down here are fairly relaxed and quite tolerating of our presence, and we don't get them kind of attacking too much. It's amazing with animals, if you just give them a bit of respect and you don't sort of go towards them too quickly, and you don't have a situation where you get into their personal space, they start to actually become quite trusting. And because in this area they're very well protected, there's not too much poaching that happens here, our elephants are actually fairly sort of good and don't really move around and try and chase us and things like that. They're pretty happy just to go and feed and do their thing. Now look, he's digging out some mud there. I wonder if he's going to lie down for us in the mud wallow. Sometimes they do this. Sometimes they'll get themselves right in and they'll roll around a little bit, although he's covered most of his body already with lots and lots of wet mud, and that's going to make him feel much better about life and much cooler. It was really good to see Ellies, because we've had a bit of a sort of dry time when it comes to the Ellies. We've had a bit of rain that's fallen north of us, and so the Ellies will go north when they are wanting to find food. Good. Now I'm going to try and see if I can follow this elephant. It gets very thick in here and very difficult to negotiate. As you can see, lots of trees in front of me. And so while we try to do that, let's send you back across to Steve and see if he's got any interesting stories with elephants.
Always lots of interesting stories about elephants, but to update you, we could not find where that leopard was from this morning, but I was talking to someone on the radio, and it seems as if he moved off north from where he was this morning, so we'll still try hard to see if we can find him. But what we have found here is two male nyala, and both of them have got horns, both of them got the white on the back, and that sort of mane of hair. And essentially what we saw just before you came to us was the Nyala do something quite similar, or not similar, but an intimidation sort of dance that they've just stopped doing now. You can clearly see that the one on the left is much bigger than the one on the right, but he was doing a little bit of a dance. It's a very sort of delicate dance that the Nyala do to try and intimidate the other one. And if two Nyalas sort of dance next to each other, they raise their hair on the back, they make themselves look twice as big. And it's an intimidation to avoid the fighting, same as with the lions, as you spoke of before. And they'll often, one will back down before the other one fights him. So it's kind of a way of avoiding confronting someone who's far bigger than you. Sort of a posturing, a very intricate dance. But you can see now the two Nyala there feeding, with a male impala in the front, and they are both mixed feeders, which means they can feed on grass as well as leaves. And it's the time of year where the grass and the forbs on the ground are in very good condition, so the animals are building up and eating as much as they can. You can see them, they are just stuffing their faces with leaves and grasses. to try and make themselves stronger, because wow, Lucy, my best day on safari ever, and why? It would have to be up in Botswana when we were walking and we stopped in a riverbed and we had about maybe 300 elephants come down to drink, and the babies wallowing in the mud and swimming and the adults drinking. That for me, seeing lots and lots of elephants on foot is always very, very special. But every day out here is magical. As you know, we do live safaris, so it's very difficult to predict what might happen. So if you come out here with enthusiasm and you're excited about it all, you're always going to be blown away. Since I've been working here in Djuma, we see amazing things. I had a buffalo give birth just a few weeks ago live, and we see elephants swimming in the dams here. We see leopards doing amazing things that just blow the mind and are not written down in any books anywhere. So for me, every day is another learning experience. And that's a female nyala there, you can see on the right, has come to join the men. You see how different they are in color and size. Toby, how fast in Yali wants to know. They're not very fast, to be honest. You see the colors that they have there. They generally run a short distance and then stand very still, because their colors make them very camouflaged. And essentially what they do is they'll run into a thick bush and then stand very, very still. Then hopefully the lions or the leopards won't see them. So when they run, they're actually quite awkward. When they run, they look very funny. Runners, they're not designed for high speed. Whereas the impala, the animals we saw just before, are very fast, very quick sprinters. So I honestly have no idea how fast a nyala is, but not that fast, to be honest. As impala are far faster. I don't think I have the stats for their speeds, but they are quicker than lions and leopards over a long distance. And lions and leopards can run at about 45, plus minus 45 miles an hour for a very short distance, whereas impala can probably run a little bit faster than that, but can cover a much greater distance. So we are down at Chitwa Dam as we speak. All the animals are enjoying the open grassland, and Ferg is going to pan across and show you this marvelous area. We're in Chitwa. Across the dam, you'll see in a moment, there is a lodge on the other side, and there are people that come here from all over the world who like to watch our show, and they like to spend time at Chitwa. We come down here quite often for the elephants, for the hippos, and there's always leopards nearby. But let's see what's going on over my shoulder. Got some hippos in the water there, more hippos here than where Brent was at Buffelshoek Dam. A little bit more permanent water here, it's a bit deeper, lots more water, a bit more space for them to spend out. Kenzo, crocodiles are very dangerous to hippo babies. We've got something going on the left here, Ferg. I don't know if you can come back. We've got the male impala are getting very excited on the left here. I'm sorry. The testosterone is in the air, boys and girls, and the male impala are coming into the rutting season, and we're going to see this fighting happening again and again. They want to fight each other. They want to chase each other. Those horns are designed for piercing, for killing each other, and they are building up condition. So, Kenzo, crocodiles are dangerous to baby hippos, but if they get near a baby hippo, the mother is very protective. So there's kind of like a little bit of a secret thing that goes on. The crocodiles stay away from the hippos stay away from the crocodiles, but every now and again a crocodile gets too close, and the hippo, with their enormously sharp and long teeth, just chomp them in half. So they have to be very, very careful not to get too close to a big hippo. Hippo weighs 4,000 pounds plus minus. That's a lot, eh? Whereas the biggest crocodile, biggest ever recorded, is maybe 2,000 pounds. So very small in comparison. So the nyala have calmed down, the impala have calmed down. You never know what's going to happen at the water. Abby, Anna and Jackie, my favorite animal undoubtedly is the mischievous and naughty honey badger. And if you have not seen one, while Ferg is just looking at the hippos, I'll quickly find you a picture. Page 55 in my little book. The honey badger, they They have got all of they're like a Jack Russell. They're a small animal they're a very big animal in a small body. And they are very aggressive. They don't take nonsense from anybody. They've been known to chase all sorts of animals. I've been with the pride of lions, just like we were moments before. A pride of 20-odd lions sleeping like that. And the honey badger came running along. He ran into the middle of the lions. They all jumped up, ready to kill whatever it is that was coming in. And the honey badger just looked at them and started growling. And the lions stepped aside and just let him go through the other side. So they have got a behavior that things pay attention to and they leave alone. They're not scared to chase you down, because in the bush, number one rule is never ever run away. Okay, so boys and girls, thank you for joining us. I hope you have a fantastic day further at school. Please join us again on Safari Live. I've hoped you learnt all sorts of wonderful things. Have a good afternoon further, and on that note, we're going to go back over to Tristan Dix.
Well, hopefully they will have a good afternoon, Steve, and hopefully you will have a good afternoon wherever you are, except that I think most of them are not afternoon, it's morning. But anyway, it's a warm welcome to all of you, our regular viewers that have joined us. Now remember that you can interact with us on hashtag Safari Live on Twitter and also on YouTube chat and get involved with this afternoon's proceedings. Now, I'm busy kind of driving along Triple M and I'm trying to find any track for this lion coming out here, but I find absolutely nothing. So I wonder if it's not lying somewhere close by. I just want to double check towards the gate and to see what exactly is going on. I don't see any sign of it kind of crossing back out. It actually came from this side and crossed this way, and it is definitely either a very young male or a lioness by herself. Now I have a theory that it could be one of the torchwoods that was separated by the Nkuhuma Pride and was quite badly injured. So maybe it's that individual that we've found tracks for and that we are busy looking, trying to find. So that's why I'm just double checking towards the gate side. I want to just cut along this main road and just check if there's not some sort of sign on this side. Now while I do that, let's send you back across to Steve, who has got, I believe, a crocodile that is taking a nap on the bank.
Probably one of the oldest, most prehistoric, archaic creatures around, the crocodile. The Nile crocodile lying just here on the bank of Chitwa Dam. He is a youngster, but would easily take off your hand if you offered it. And he's enjoying a little bit of the sunshine. He's opening the mouth now. And now you might think they open the mouth to warm themselves up, but the sun is warming up the body. The entire body is like a big solar panel, and by opening the mouth there, the wind going over the tongue and the inner jaw helps to cool them down. So the easiest way to cool them down, just open the mouth, and if they wanted to get even cooler, they could go into the water itself. So by opening the mouth requires no energy, almost like when we relax our hand sort of closes. You have to use the muscles in your hand to straighten the fingers. The crocodile has to use its muscles to close its mouth. So it requires no muscles to open it. It's almost an automatic thing to open. So you could easily close a crocodile's mouth if you held it. If you held it closed, it would stay closed because they don't actually have the muscles to slap it open. It's almost like just a tendon that pulls it open naturally. But he's very cute, isn't he? Or she. I can't tell the difference in young male and female crocodiles. Daisy Bee, the crocodile, is very comfortable. Very, very comfortable. It's just chilling out, you would say, in the middle of the dam on the little island. It is prey to large raptors, such as martial eagle. So it would be good to keep its eye open and fall back into the water under threat. Nile crocodiles are the only crocodiles we have here. Sorry, I didn't get that name. The only crocodiles we find in South Africa are the Nile crocodile. Gremlin General. The Nile crocodile is the only crocodile we find in the Sabi Sands, in South Africa, that is. I know Brent was talking yesterday about some other crocodiles. I've never come across them. I think he said the pygmy and whatever else it was, I don't remember. I've never actually spent too much time researching the crocodiles, but the largest recorded Nile crocodile was pulled out of the Lavuvu River in the northern Kruger National Park, and it weighed 1,000 kilograms, so that's over 2,000 pounds, and it was 5.5 meters in length. That is an enormous animal. Enormous animal. That's over 20 feet. Close to 20, 18 feet. Well, is that a second one there, Ferg? Just behind him to the right? There is a second one. Well, we've got a second little crocodile here doing exactly the same thing, probably from the same brood, and we're going to stay here with these. We're going to move off a bit, see if we can find Hosana. Let's go back over to Brent.
Well, welcome back, everyone. VM and I are still on the Tundi mission. We're relatively, probably about 90% certain she's in this area here to the west of us. We're just busy triple checking now that she hasn't popped out and has been moving during the day. Otherwise, she's got to be in this block. Unfortunately, it is an extremely difficult block. Now, I'm just trying to make sure those look. There's no Tundi's tracks here. Now, I'm just trying to remember. She walked down both up and down this road this morning. So, okay, there you go. And just making sure it's not a new set of tracks. It is the ones I know about. I'm just going to try get into a spot. And we can do a bit of track aging here to show you what's going on. Okay. Sorry, Franklin, calm down. It's hiding right there, going. It's probably going to burst out of the bush and give me a fright as soon as I kneel down. I'm just trying to find one that's in the sun. They've been driven over. Can you see them here, Bim? That one's too close. Oh dear. Oh dear, Pimpy. Let me see if I can spot one just down here quickly. Ah. Even better. Hang on. Hang on. That's very interesting. That track wasn't here this morning. That looks like a cub track. That looks very much like a cub track. So there are the toes. There's the little pad. Because over here is Tundi's track. I'm just going to figure this out quickly, but someone's driven over these tracks. Mysteries. Now, quite often it's quite a process trying to figure out, especially if the tracks have been driven over. So we've got tracks going this way, we've got tracks going that way, but we've got two sets of tracks coming back this way. So we've got what looks to be Tundi and Kalamba. This track is quite a bit smaller. And that was not here this morning. So, okay, I'm going to try to figure this out. I'm going to do a quick loop round, come back along Cheetah Cut Line, make sure they haven't gone off to the east. While we do that, let's head you back to Chitwa and Steve.
you, we have managed to sneak up on an absolute monster of a crocodile. This is definitely the mommy of all crocodiles in Chitwa Dam. Look at the size of that individual. There's just something about it that always just gives me the heebie-jeebies, and it just winks at the camera. Did you see that? Closes nictitating membrane. Francis, I don't know if a crocodile's got a tongue. What you see in the back there, that straight line in the back of the throat, is actually the gullet flap that they close to prevent the water going down the throat, and by closing that they can catch prey underwater, because crocodiles are actually very efficient fishermen. They catch fish, they primarily feed on fish. I know those of you who watch the National Geographic shows and the migration, you see the crocodiles feeding on wildebeest and zebra, but most crocodiles most of the time actually feed on fish. They will eat meat if they can when it comes around, but those teeth, look at them, enormous. The entire structure of that body is designed to make it move through the water effortlessly, full of muscle. Those ridges on the back help to streamline it and break up the wake that it forms when it moves quickly through the water. And also obviously the line of the eyes and the nostrils enable it to be completely underwater, just looking up to breathe. Can be under the water for over an hour. Gromit, why are the crocodile's eyes the way they are? I'm not sure what you mean by that. The position on their head is to be level with the nostrils and to keep them low in the water, and they have a nictitating membrane which covers the eye, which enables them to see clearly underwater, and it was also a protection for if they do catch something with flailing legs that might kick them in the eye. It helps to protect. Most reptiles have that nictitating membrane. Birds do as well, to help them protect their eye. And when you actually see a kingfisher, for example, diving into the water, before they hit the water, both of their eyelids close to protect the eye from the force of the water, and that's the same as in reptiles. And also a lot of birds that catch insects, they have that membrane that closes to protect the eye from any leg or flailing object that might damage it. And birds are descendants of reptiles, so it is something that's stayed in the organism for a very, very long time. And crocodiles haven't needed to evolve for a very long time. They're one of the oldest species still around on the planet, and they still give me the heebie-jeebies. And you see he's busy panting. Doesn't seem as if they've got a tongue. I've never thought to ask or to look if a crocodile's got a tongue. I think it would be quite difficult to have. Can we go back to the other side, Ferg? We've got the male impala are going absolutely nuts, and they're causing the entire herd of animals to flee. The females are running, the males, there's testosterone in the air. You can see how the males, when they do run, they run around with their tails up. They're starting to roar. I thought maybe there might be a leopard here. They're coming in from the left. Ah, there we go, running off on the left there. The testosterone is starting to build up. Only in the next few days you'll see huge confrontations happening between these male impala. And the crocodile just sits here and waits and watches. Ferg, can you just get these two here? They're going to do something, eh? Ah, thank you, Francis. Francis has done the old googly and found out that alligators have tongues and crocodiles do not. See these two males? There we go. It's quite gentle at the moment. There's not serious competition happening yet, but they're all going to start staking out. You can see he's rubbing the preorbital gland now against a branch, indicating that he's just won that battle. There's another three males to the left of them, Ferg, that are also potentially going to have a go at each other soon. They're doing the tail flicking. They're tasting the air with their tongues. So four males now. Let's see what these guys are going to do. You can see by the shape of the horns, these are all mature males, all trying to stake out claims with good food and access to water, because the females will be attracted to those areas. And all in the object of spreading their seed. Most of these young or these dominant males will not see through the breeding season. They will either be killed in the fighting, or they'll lose condition to such a point they get easily picked off by predators. So there is a noticeable sort of graph. If you drew a graph on impala deaths and mortalities in November and December, January, you'd see a peak in baby birth or in baby deaths because they're easy to catch. April, May, June, you'll see a peak in male deaths, and then sort of between September and November you see a peak in female deaths because they're pregnant, and they're a little bit struggling to get condition and food, and they're easily or much easily caught compared to the males that are not having to deal with a fetus inside of them. So that's also what maintains the balance of impala numbers, is the fact that you have a general offtake of males, babies and females at different times of the year. Otherwise you get a real big skewed sort of sex ratio in the population. It's all quite naturally balanced by Mother Nature herself. You can see all the ladies in the background. They're trying not to be too near the action, but soon they will have no choice. They'll be herded around like sheep. These two males, are they going to? There's some posturing happening. Sometimes just the posturing is enough to deter another male. Still doing some necessary grooming. Oh, marvelous. Okay, well, we're going to move off from here. Let's go over to Brent to see what update he has for you on those tracks.
Okay, so good news. No tracks heading into Torchwood. So we're heading back to Quarry Pan. We're going to go have another close look around there. So that's the direction those tracks were heading. And then, if nothing, we're going to go for a little walk. Okay, let's just check carefully here now again. Okay, so it's going to be, we're going to have to do quite a lot of sneaky, tracky. We did see a hyena here a little bit earlier. I was looking a bit nervous, so I wonder if there's not some. So, I mean, I tracked Thandi to here this morning, and we saw where she came down for a drink. I just want to check if now, during the day, that they've come back and had another drink since then. So Thandi drinks, she comes down here. There's the hyena that we just saw. So you can just see. There's Thandi's tracks there where she drank. Now, the cub might not necessarily have drunk in the same place, and I wasn't really looking for cub tracks this morning. That's hyena. That's a lion, old. It's another hyena. It's a warthog. Now this is the most likely spot for me here. Now, nope. No. Okay, I'm going to take a quick walk into this back country here, where it's very difficult to get a car in, see if we have any luck. In the meantime, let's send you back to Chitwa and Steve.
Thank you very much. Yes, indeed, we have found ourselves a giant kingfisher, and you can just make out the brown on the chest and the white underneath. And have a look at the eye, how the nictitating membrane is closing constantly there. Yep, as a protection when it dive bombs into the water. And I wonder how many of you out there can remember our discussion the other day. Is this a male or is this a female? The brown on the chest. I wonder if you can quickly send through your comments to hashtag Safari Live. Send me through your comments and see if you can get it. I've just been called on the radio, and we might have some luck with a cat. Hold on, let me talk to somebody standing by. Copied. I'm just coming from the dam towards room 11. Confirm I just take a left there. Copy, thank you. Will I get you a visual from the road? Exciting. Copy. I'm on my way. They found him, ladies and gentlemen. We were going to do a little bit of a loop over here and come back. And they found Hosana just up here. So we're going to just get around here and go and have a look at this beautiful little prince, or the little chief. He is my favorite cat. And I only got a very brief glimpse of him the other day. Very brief. So now I think maybe this afternoon, you know, we've earned it now, Ferg. We've been back, what now, 2.5 weeks? 2.5 weeks. You know, seeing Hosana on the first day is just a bit cheeky, you know. You need to go and see him first. Jill, you say it's a female. It is not a female. So 50% chance of getting that one right. Very easy to remember because a male has got a brown hairy chest. Hairy chest, brown hairy chest. All the giant kingfishers have got brown on the chest. They are male. The females are white on the chest and brown underneath. Okay, I'm going to make a move because it sounds like he's moving. Stand by. I think it's left here, Ferg. Takes us back to that last sort of exit. I'm excited. Hosana. We're singing his name already in praise. He obviously moved off from where he was this morning. I think he had a daycare there yesterday. Okay, so we're a few minutes out, maybe a minute. Let's go over to Tristan while we get there and see what he's doing.
Well, Steve, good luck there. So far we are having I don't know what's going on, but this lion, whatever it is, has just vanished in the smallest block you can ever imagine. I cannot find a single track for it coming out, and the block is so small. I've walked through it twice, 3 times, and there's no way a lion could be there. I suppose the thing is that we're on probably the busiest roads that we have in this reserve. We've got Vuyatela access, and then we've got the main kind of Triple M, and during the day these roads both get traversed heavily and they get driven a lot, and so maybe this animal crossed somewhere and we just can't find the tracks because of the amount of cars that have gone back up and down. But it's this tiny little block on our right hand side that the track goes into and doesn't come out anywhere. So if it is inside there, then oh wait, here we go. Well, this is joyful. It's crossed on top of our vehicle tracks, straight over the. There we go. So you can see its track there in the mitre drain, just to the left, Craig. Left. There, I think it's that one at the back there. That one there, I think that's the track. By the looks of things, am I right? Yeah, somewhere there, Craig. I don't know, you might have had it right the first time. I'm not 100% sure. Either way, it's crossed right there, and that's on, like I say, on top of our vehicle track. So this line it's strange because it's come out of Simambili, come onto Vuyatela, and then gone straight back into Simambili again. I just want to check here that we maybe can't see it somewhere lying in this general vicinity. I don't see it anyway, but it's definitely on top of my vehicle. Those weren't there just now when I was walking around, so I don't know, playing games. Anyway, there's not much we can do about that, so let's carry on. We'll just try and find out who exactly that is, and we'll try and kind of maybe come back a bit later and see if maybe this line comes back on our side. Anyway, that's a bit disappointing. I was hoping to find out who exactly it was, but that's the way it goes. You have these times, sometimes it works for you, sometimes it doesn't, and so we are going to kind of carry on and see what else there is in this general area. I wonder if maybe that line just got a bit nervous, and I I don't know who it is, like I say. It could be one of any lions. I know the Mangane sub-adults are all walking around at the moment, and in fact, actually, one of the Mangane sub-adults died today out of malnutrition. So they were cast aside by their mothers very early on, and they're now in a situation where they are struggling to find food, and I believe the 10 youngsters, I think it's 10 or 11 youngsters, are really emaciated and are struggling, and so one unfortunately died today, and so maybe it's one of them. It could be that separated torchwood, it could be that Mberi female, it could be any one of these individuals. If it's a sub-adult male and a female track, they're going to look very similar in size, so difficult to say who it is and what's kind of, you know, what its size is, and without actually physically seeing it itself. Our elephant also crossed into Simambili, so we're not having much luck on this western boundary. Hopefully we can trade. We'll give them a lion and an elephant if they send us Shadulu or Hukamuri. I think that's a fair trade with them, and hopefully that will be the kind of case for the afternoon. Not really much else happening this side of the world. We had one impala that came kind of trotting past at one point, and otherwise fairly quiet. Doesn't seem like any audio of anything, no squirrels alarm calling, nothing like that. And very few birds actually this afternoon that I've seen. So guide monkey, obviously luck is probably, like you say, is the most sort of, well, the biggest part of it, but the biggest factor in finding tracks and searching for and spotting animals, I think the next biggest thing besides luck is to have a knowledge of the area and the animals that you're looking for. So, you know, we know hypothetically that if we want to look for Shadulu and Hukamuri, the western side of the property is where we start, and hopefully that's where we'll pick up the tracks. So knowing where they like to move, you know, which individuals we can expect to go and find. It's like Brent going to Gwaripan. That's a place where Tundi has walked around a lot, and as you can see, her tracks are once again in that area. So, you know, it's a situation where it's, I think, knowing the animals and knowing the space that you're in and where certain animals like to walk is probably the next best thing behind a bit of luck in terms of spotting and finding animals. But there is an animal in front which is cause for celebration given how sort of quiet it's been. There's a wildebeest that is sitting in front of me that's hopefully going to sit still and not run away, because given the afternoon that we've had, it's probably going to run into Simambili as well. Anyway, let's see. There's some impalas. They won't run away from me, surely not. These impalas don't run away from me. Don't prove me wrong. Even our wildebeest is behaving himself to a degree. So we'll just get up closer. This is the wildebeest from quarantine. He spends obviously his time between there and this little open patch on Sandy Patch. So somewhere there should be good, Craig. So he's actually being well behaved this afternoon, which is good news. Now, he spends his time, like I say, between quarantine and here. It depends on where the predators are and what noises are being made in the deep of the night. And you'll find that he'll just kind of go from open area to open area. And this poor wildebeest is marking and rolling and scenting everywhere it can. And yet there are still no females. So it's waiting patiently for females to come back. So when we say females, we're talking about the females that have the herd with footloose. The little one that was born live, so it's that herd that he's probably waiting to see return. I have no idea where they went. We haven't seen them for quite some time, and hopefully when they return, all of those little ones will still be a part of the family group, and that none of them will have met a sticky end. But you can see the impalas also around. It's nice for a wildebeest to be in amongst impalas. It makes life a lot easier in terms of staying alive. If you kind of move away from others, it's going to be very difficult, particularly because the lions love hunting them. Good. Now it sounds like Steve has found his way and has found the charismatic cat himself, Hosana.
Yes, look who we found, Lee. We found him. I am so excited to be seeing him again, and he's looking in such good condition. It's probably about 400 meters or so from where we were checking earlier, and it's just so helpful having radios, because we were able to get obviously confirmation of his whereabouts through one of the other guides. And here he's sitting in a little bit of shade on a termite mound. I was sure when we got to the last position that he wasn't there, because the animals were very, very relaxed. But from where we saw those impala fighting, and the dam, he's kind of on the opposite side in a straight line from where we were looking up. So he's not far away from all these animals, and I don't think they realize there is a leopard sitting here on the bank of this termite mound, waiting. I think it might be a bit warm for him, but he blends in beautifully. From a distance, he's pretty much invisible. Everyone's saying hello to you, young man, and he is lapping up the hellos. I haven't seen him in some time, so very, very happy for that. Ferg is as well. Hey, Fergie, always happy. My favourite young man. I've no doubt he will come and say hello to us shortly. But there are 2 vehicles with us in the sighting, and others who are very interested, of course. But don't worry, folks, we're not going anywhere. I'm going to follow him. The only time we'll stop following him is if he crosses north into Torchwood, which is a possibility, but hopefully with all this food hanging around Chitwa Dam, he'll be staying here. Ah, there we go. Is he going to get up and move now? Normally when these cats yawn, it's time for them to start stretching, having some ablutions, relieving themselves, and then they move. But it is a little bit hot, but he hasn't done the best of jobs in covering himself in the shade. I think he's more on a lookout sort of mission than he is on a shade mission. He's just sitting under a little raisin bush there, nicely elevated. You can see the elevation is taller than we are in the car. He's about the same sort of vantage point that Ferg has where he sits. So we've seen this behavior by lots of leopards. They like to a little bit of elevation and then move down to the area to try and hunt. Peggy, I'm not sure where Tingana is actually. I was not out this morning. I was lucky to have a sleep in. But I've no doubt he's not too far away. He's probably hiding in Chitwa Lodge again, maybe, enjoying the luxury at no expense to himself. Maybe Hosana will walk us straight to Tingana just now, as we've seen him do a few times. Such bizarre behavior that we do see, and those of you who will remember on my interview, we saw the 2 of them together, very close to where we are right now. Luca, I've never heard of leopards being part of a pride. You might see a female leopard with her cubs, 2 or 3 cubs, and that would be about it. Maybe a male hanging around with her, but they are solitary by nature. And once the cubs can fend for themselves and hunt for themselves, Mum will let them do their own thing because they are taking all the food that she's working so hard for. There he goes. Ah, he walked down the wrong side. He didn't get my email, obviously. I wanted him to do a nice cameo right in front of us here. I wonder what he's up to. You just see his ears there. Wonder what he's spotted. I'll go around that side, Ferg. He's having a little bit of a scratch. I think I'm going to move quickly here. Thanks, Ari. And he is moving. Where he is going, we do not know, but there is a road just up ahead of us here. Just try and get in front of him. Don't want to disturb whatever it is that he might be up to. But let's see. Hello, my beautiful prince. There he is. Michelle, we have spot patterns on the faces of these leopards that will tell us who they are. First, you need to identify if it's a male and female. And by looking under the tail, that is very easy to see. I think there's something spotted up ahead. One of the other vehicles has seen something. The spot pattern just above the whiskers. You can see that there's 3 on the right-hand side and three on the left. Can you see the spots? He's just walking behind the car. Sorry about the back of the car. He's going to come right here and say hello to me, is he? Yes, he is. Hello, boy. He likes to come and say hello to me. You can see just under the tail his genitals there. That makes it easy to identify a male, because some are bigger than others, especially when they're young. And then that spot pattern, and then also other scars and maybe notches in the ear. And initially it's quite difficult, but when you start spending time with these animals, also you recognize them for the area that they're in. And what we've done for some time is most of the viewers back home know the leopards far better than we do, or me anyway, and they'll often tell us exactly who it is. There goes Ari from Nkoro with his guest. He's the one who called us in. Apologies for them driving into shot like that. We're going to carry on though and keep following this beautiful cat as he probably goes to the next termite mound for another little scouting out mission. Hold on there, folks. We're going off-road. It's best in these sort of sightings to try and follow the other car so that you do less sort of destruction and damage to wherever it is that you are going. You can hear some birds alarm calling there. Come on our side, Hosana. He's going to go right on top, is he? Who knows where he's going? See, it appears as if Fergus has forgotten to switch off his alarm. Is that time to wake up, Ferg? Okay, let's go around and see if we can get another. Every now and again I forget my phone is on silent or it vibrates. So I apologize if you did hear that noise. No one heard it until I mentioned it. Exactly. Okay, well, we're a little bit stuck here. There he goes. There he goes. Beautiful cat. Now, you're probably going to see other vehicles as he goes past them. There are 3 of us in the sighting watching the little chief. But my only concern is he is heading directly north towards Gowrie Main. There's a good chance he's going to cross north. So while we see if we can keep up with him, let's go back over to Tristan for an update.
Well, I don't really have much of an update, unfortunately, in a situation where very little is going on. Very, very quiet down on this western side. I was hoping that we'd just see some spots dangling from a tree in the form of Shadulu, but that has not happened, and there's no tracks to indicate that it shall happen. So instead we're just enjoying the beautiful sunshine that we've got. It's a great afternoon, nice weather, not too hot, not too cold, and Craig and I are discussing his upcoming leave and what he's going to be doing on his leave. Tells me he's going to go surfing and going to go and enjoy the eastern coast of South Africa. So hopefully he's going to have some good surf apparently and good swells. Craigie, we have to see some evidence of your surfing abilities when you get back. Hopefully Craig is not too rusty and he doesn't fall too much, but we'll have to tell him to take a video so we can see what Craig's made of on a surfboard. So that's what we've been discussing, and Kirsty agrees. There you go, Craig. If Kirsty says so, then you have to do it, because she's the director and she tells us what to do. And so, Craig, you're going to have to do videos. Craig is very excited about this whole story. He's telling me that he's really looking forward to his trip there. He's got a bike, and so he's going to be taking his bike down on a little adventure, and then he told me that maybe on the way back he might even go through Swaziland to come back. Isn't that right, Craig? There we go. So Craig says yes, maybe that's possibly what he's going to be doing. So hopefully Craig will have a good time. Sounds like a good time will be had. It's a nice part of the world, the Durban coastline. It's very kind of warm seas and pretty beaches and a good place to be at this time of the year. Right, well, we're going to try and scrounge something out of nothing, pull a little rabbit out of the proverbial hat, and while we do that, let's send you back across to Steve and Hosana, who hopefully is still coming towards Djuma.
We're not sure if he's coming towards Djuma, Brent, but he is, or Trist, he is lying down. He's found a nice little shady spot with some nice cool soil there. It's just underneath the leaves of a bloodwood or a round leaf teak. It's a little bit cooler in there. The shade is on the right side now. Before, he was sitting in the wrong sort of aspect of that termite mound to be getting the benefit of the shade. And it's time for a little bit of grooming. Samu, Hosana is the little chief. I know I keep saying the little prince, but Hosana means little chief. So he is sort of the prince, so to speak. And who is the little princess? Ferg, who's the princess?
There was Shongile.
Okay, yes, indeed. Indeed, it's a topic that I have been not too willing to talk about, as I'm a new member to the show. Hosana had a sister. Her name was Shongile, and we have not seen her in some time. And it is quite a topic to talk about on air, and I do not know enough about it to talk about it. So she is not available. We don't know where, and that is all I can say on the matter. But what we do know, what I do know, is that leopards come and go. Leopards move through areas. They get chased, and they quite often settle somewhere. If they are still alive, they will be successful somewhere, but we have not seen her in some time. I'm not sure how long it's been, about a year I think, that she has not been seen, but no idea where she is. But we still have the benefit of seeing this beautiful character, and what is strange is he's hanging out in his father's territory, which is normally reserved for females. Females normally stay in their sort of born or natal territory, and young males invariably move away so as not to stay in the same area and end up mating with their sisters and mothers and all that. There's a bit of genetic sort of inbreeding. So that is the general dynamic with cats. But what might have happened this time is Hosana stayed and Shongile moved off. So maybe she's somewhere else in the Kruger Park, somewhere else south in the Sabi Sands, or even in the Timbavati. Who knows? Who knows? What we do know is this is a gorgeous young cat with more character than any leopard I've ever seen. Jennifer, the general age for male leopards to start scent marking, in my opinion, is around 3. But we've seen this young 2-year-old scent marking over his dad's scent mark trails, so he's very cheeky. If he'd moved out of this area and was trying to do that in the area of another male, there would be some ramifications behind that. He would be probably found out and disciplined. But his dad doesn't seem to be doing too much in the way of disciplining or in the way of even territory marking at the moment, as we have got a new male, Hukumuri, who has moved into the area, who seems to be sort of taking over. But it is a really interesting dynamic at the moment. Those of you who've read the Cat Report will have seen this last week, sort of seen my comments on the movements of Hosana and his father, the Duke of Djuma, Tingana. And so it's very interesting what's going on, how these two are always around Chitwa Dam. Tingana even hanging around in the lodge itself. Had a kill in the lodge the other day. And Hosana, to me, seems like he's just jumping between the dominant male territories and just keeping under the radar, and kind of also staying quite close and near to his father. We've got someone joining us in the sighting, so if you just excuse me while I speak on the radio. Afternoon, Peter. If you just come in on my left-hand side with your nose, you'll be able to get a visual in front of me there. And one of the other game lodges coming in to join. So it's possible that Hosana is going to stay like this for the next little while, because it is still quite hot. But as we know, they are always very, very opportunistic and will catch something if it comes past. Well, from our male leopard, let's go see what Brent is up to, if he's managed to find any fresh signs of Tundi.
Well, apparently there is a report of a track coming out. There's a very pretty bird. Is it going to land where we can see it? Where did it go? Where did it go? Is that the same one? up there. Look like the last of the amethyst. There we go. Amethyst starlings, or plum-coloured starlings. You can't really see the brilliant colour without the sun shining on it, but it is a very beautiful starling. Okay, so we're just heading to where one of the guys driving out of Djuma said he had a track heading south across Central. So that's on top of our tracks from this morning. So we're heading there. So obviously between drives, she's kept going south. So we're going to go have a quick look-ski. And here we go. Afternoon. How you say it? Yeah. Yep. Cool. No worries. Cool. As to how far down?
But don't belittle me on the radio. Affirmative or negative.
Okay, I'll do that. Cheers, Chris. Chris says he's a little bit rusty, so not to belittle him on the radio if he's got the track wrong, just say affirmative or negative. Look at that. You see him, VM? Yeah. He just looks so regal sitting there eating his marula nut. Got a view over the whole world. Little squirrel munching on his marula nut. You can see how incredibly flexible their spines are. And you can see that kink in the spine. Of course, with their need to be incredibly mobile and jump and squirrel away, they need to have quite a flexible spine. So you can see even how he's sitting there, how that spine bends. Beautiful little squirrel. Okay, we're looking for a big circle. So he did say, don't belittle me on the radio, but belittle on air? No, I'm joking. I would never do that. Now, there's always a possibility, Casper, that the tracks might not be from Thandi and Cub. It is highly unlikely. Of course, there is now that sign of that female with 2 cubs in Buffel's Hook that the cubs have been seen on the boundary once. Just once. And but it's very unlikely. This is Thandi turf, prime Thandi turf at the moment, with the hook being in the west. Hokumuri, that is, the male leopard. So yes, it's prime Thandi turf. Let's have a look. Track should be anywhere around here. Yeah. Well, as I say, VM and I, we're on a mission today. We're sticking to our Thandi plan come hell or high water. Hopefully it pays off. So in the meantime, let's send you back to Hosana and Steve.
I like hearing the determination in Brent's voice about his willingness to spend time in the area, and I'm sure with that energy he will be fruitful. We can only hope. But Hosana is lying flat. He had his head up for a moment, but he's back to his original position, enjoying the shade of a very small round-leaved teak. We can pan out a bit, if you don't mind, to have a look at that bush, please. You can see the stump of the tree, because elephants enjoy these plants very, very much so. They've been broken down to just a small few little branches. Sherry, leopards can travel very far in one evening. I'm not sure how far exactly they might travel to establish a new territory, but essentially what happens is, if you look at the size of the Kruger National Park and included all the private nature reserves around, you're looking at over 4 million acres. A male leopard of about 2 years of age who might get displaced from an area because he's starting to become sort of an adult and new male moves into the area, he will move to the adjacent territory, and the same thing will happen. The male in that area will push him and he'll move to the adjacent one. So eventually he can be 50, 60, 100 kilometers away from where he was born, even more maybe. It really depends on where they find themselves and who is occupying their territory at the time. For example, with Tingana getting quite old, he doesn't seem to be, as we're saying, isn't disciplining his young son at all to push him out of the area. So he's just staying. So he's now getting quite brazen in that. And a new territorial male is moving in the name of Hukumuri that I said before. And so if he doesn't chase this cat, it's very likely Hosana will just stay in the area. Maybe when he gets a little bit bigger, establish his own territory within the boundaries of the males that sort of are hemming him in at the moment. It's very interesting. The dynamics that happen here, and it's marvelous that we as Wild Earth have been able to follow these guys for over 12 years, and the dynamics of what's going on and how it's going on. These things aren't written down. They're not in any journals. They're not in any papers. The animal behavior guides do not talk about what we see. So I am quite interested to maybe put something together on a more sort of official basis to see what exactly is going on, because the Sabi Sands has got leopard data for over 60 odd years, and a lot of that is observation, and it's very easy to put observational sort of studies into a paper. So maybe that's a task for down the line, and quite an interesting one at that. Steve's Diary of Leopards. Thank you, Kirst. It's wonderful to have Kirsten back in my ear. She is back from leave and full of energy. Very excited to have her back. It's always nice when you get the after leave, everyone comes back a little bit more rejuvenated. They've managed to eat the foods they've wanted to eat and watch the movies and see the people that they've been missing, and they come back all refreshed and rejuvenated, and they bring that breath of fresh air back into camp. And she's on her first shift this afternoon. So thank you. Welcome back, Kirsten. It's wonderful to have you back. Round of applause for Kirsten and FC. Yeah, everyone's happy to have her back, I am sure. It was just Luke, okay? Just Luke giving you a round of applause. Well, at least it was someone. And Luke is also from Durban, so Kirsty's now got an ally in FC. Most people are from elsewhere in the country, so now she's got another fellow Durbanite to help support her there. Not that she needs any support. And you have Craig on your team. Is he also from Durban? Oh, of course. And Scotty D. Well, Scotty D's in Kenya at the moment, so there are a lot of Durbanites at the moment. What's going on? Oh, there is an amazing front building up in the east. Wonder if you can show us that, Ferg. There's a huge cloud formation developing far in the east. There's no wind at all at the moment. So let's just go over my shoulder here and see if we can have a look. Look at that. It is expected to rain later, but that is far to our sort of east. That could be in Mozambique already. That could be in the southern Kruger. That could be coming this way. It could be going that way. We don't know, but we will keep our eyes on it, because that will be a storm that will wet everything. Marvelous. Cumulonimbus clouds building. Big towering clouds, which generally bring thunder and lightning. Well, we looking at the rain in the sky, or the clouds. Let's go over to Tristan, who's actually got some water.
We do. We are looking at a very similar sort of cloudy horizon as I'm sure Steve is looking at, except that we have Treehouse Dam and some beautiful reflections of the clouds and the trees on the dam itself. So it's a really pretty spot to come at this time of the day. In fact, I think the sunset might just get better, especially if that sun can just slip in underneath the clouds towards the end of the drive. We should get some spectacular color in the sky itself. So very pretty, kind of off to the western side. And so when you can't find animals, it's always good just to have a situation where you admire the beauty around you and enjoy the fact that we get to see this on a day-to-day basis. So that's why we're here, and just also because you never know. Treehouse Dam is one of those random places where if you don't check it all the time, things pop up, and we know Hukumuri likes it here, so it was worth just coming and having a little look. Now, there are some Egyptian geese that are hanging around, as always. They're never far from water. There they are. There's 2 of them in total. And typical for them to be around water, as we know, they tend to spend a lot of time in these areas making a lot of noise. So they are here and kind of taking it easy. And then besides them, there's a few terrapins milling about, but otherwise quite quiet around Treehouse Dam. But anyway, it sounds like, I didn't hear who, I think Brent has got one of our smaller antelope in the grass.
Well, we've actually just stopped at the Pans on Inyala Road South, and Tundi's tracks were heading into this area, and there's one of Tundi's favourite little snacks, a duiker. Now, as VM was hoping, he says, I hope Tundi just comes out of nowhere and catches it right there while we're looking at the duiker. So our plan is to spend about 10 minutes without moving and just sit here and listen. So she definitely drank at Quarry Pan, and you'll see I've added a little thing that I found on my walk, there you go, a little aerial. It's pinging for Tundi. And so what we've done is we've stopped here. Sorry, I thought I heard something there. And we are hoping that something starts alarm calling. It's the right time of the day. Now, the reason I've come here is because, as I said, she drank at Quarry Pan last night. And the second pass through, she didn't drink there. So we're hoping that this is the next bit of water is just behind me here. That if she is heading in this direction, she hasn't managed to catch anything yet. She might stop for a drink here. Now, with a little bit of rain we're having, it does make it a little bit more difficult because there's quite a few more pans around. There's quite a lot of water around. But often the best way to find a big cat is to just sit still and listen. I mean, we can hear some francolins, some doves. It just gives you a little idea of what the sounds of the African bush are like at this time of the day. And it's amazing at this time of the day, it sort of increases in crescendo the closer you get to sunset. And then, as James calls it, the changing of the guards. There's that sort of little awkward time where everyone's quiet, apart from the odd idiotic francolin or the odd idiotic dove. And of course, one of the favourite times is the white-browed scrub robin to be calling. And then, all of a sudden, the nocturnal insects take over. The nightjars and owls start calling. You can see some big storm clouds down to the south. Definitely one of my favourite times of the day. Now, I think Tristan's got a similar plan to me. He's also listening for alarm calls, and except he's not doing it at this pan, he's doing it at Treehouse Dam.
We're just sitting, like I said earlier, and just taking in a little bit, and it's a good time of day to be stationary and just to be listening out. So sometimes when you have a quiet kind of moment like this and you're not really finding very much, it's good just to switch off, listen for a little bit. Maybe there's an alarm call that rings out over the sort of terrain that we're in, especially now because things start to quieten down, and so it's quite easy to then hear something like a kudu or an impala or something like that. So that's why we're just sitting and kind of enjoying the peace and quiet that there is at Treehouse Dam. Now, it's interesting because it seems as though there's a few kind of storm clouds that are around. There's a few rumbles of thunder earlier, and it's almost like everything has just kind of gone quiet before the storm. There you can see the big clouds kind of pushing in slowly but surely. They don't seem as though they're going to hold too much rain But let's see. Now, Annette, you say the sky is beautiful. It is, isn't it? We've got a very pretty sky, and particularly when it reflects off the water. That's one of the reasons why a treehouse at sunset is so spectacular, because you do get this reflection as well as the sun kind of just dipping down below those trees. And if you get a really orange sunset, it can be absolutely spectacular because the water itself takes on that same color, and it can be really, really nice. It's always better if there's one of our animals here, so it would have been nice if we maybe had some ellies or even a buffalo or something like that. It would have added to the whole picture, but nonetheless, still very, very pretty. Good. I think we're going to carry on though. Can't hear anything, can't sort of see anything. Maybe we'll take a turn past towards the Nkuhuma Pride while Steve is with Hosana. We'll see how it goes, but we're going to slowly start kind of meandering around and seeing maybe if there's something else in the central parts of Djuma. While we do that though, let's send you back across to Steve with that very leopard we were speaking about.
He is flat. He's not doing much. We can hear, I don't know if you can hear, we're going to have a quick little listen for the tap, tap, tap of the bearded woodpecker in the background. Also the high whistling of the grey hornbill. Let's just have a listen for a moment, shall we? Okay, so there's another vehicle about to leave us now. As soon as they're gone, we'll do a moment of silence. The grey hornbill in the tree up here, and there's that sound of the bearded woodpecker as he does his territorial drumming against the beautiful marula tree, which is a very, very good wood for making a drum. Okay, now we're going to have a listen, shall we? As the vehicle departs. Sorry about that, folks. The ambient is obviously up now for us to hear the birds, and all we can hear is the sound of a diesel Land Cruiser moving off. They're almost out of earshot, and now we are ready for the bearded woodpecker. Red-billed buffalo weavers swarming. We saw a big tower in the background there. That's where we from Chitwa. Buffalo weavers.
Now, unfortunately, it sounds like everyone's got gremlins, which is a bit of a problem because where I am right now, we're about to get gremlins too. So I'm trying to just now take a detour quickly. I was going to head south, but I won't be able to do that, otherwise I'm going to lose signal. So we're going to turn north instead. Maybe we'll be rewarded for our change in direction with something of interest somewhere along here. Hopefully we'll keep signal. I know if I go down into the dip there or towards Elephant Carcass, I would have definitely lost. So this is our only hope in keeping the signal as we go. Right, come on, one of you individual animals, come out. It doesn't matter what you are. Ah, there we go. You see, we ask and you shall receive. It is a waterbuck on my right hand side. Hello fellas. Some young boys that are walking about together, and particularly dark young male that is at the back. You can hear a bit of thunder in the distance. And waterbuck never mind a bit of thunder. They're going to cope just fine with all of that. And you can see almost looking up into the sky as if to say, I wonder if we're going to get rain. They really are beautiful animals. I like waterbuck. I like their kind of bulk that they've got, and the little white ring on their bum adds a bit of kind of diversity to their appearance compared to some of the other animals out here. And then also just the completely different coat structure that they've got is pretty interesting. So I quite like them, and obviously they do get a serious set of horns on them when they are adults. I'm surprised to see these guys here. They normally kind of hang around treehouse mostly. You don't see them too much down near Twin Dams, although every now and then you'll find a bull going down that way, and that must be where they're heading at the moment, because they're kind of moving in a sort of southeasterly direction and their next water point from here would definitely be Twin Dams, but we've got to do a bit of maintenance. You see, horns are not just for fighting. You can also do a bit of scratching work, as that male did just now. Now, there's definitely a bit of thunder behind us. I wonder if we're going to get rained on. Craig, we're going to get rained on?
That's today.
Not today. Okay, Craig. Well, as long as you are sure we're not going to get rained on, then we'll take that advice. Right, now, sounds like whatever gremlins there were or technical issues have been kind of sorted out, and so Steve is back with us, so let's send you back across to him and the spotty little Hosana having a nap.
Well, it appears as if the swarm of red-billed buffalo weavers en masse influenced our signal as they flew between us and the Chitwa mast. I don't think that is exactly what happened, but I think Conrad is going to put that in the tech report, that the birds influenced the signal, because that's all we can imagine. We've been in the same spot for 15 to 20 minutes without any issues, and suddenly that happened, so we have to blame it on the birds. So the storm is building in the east. What you'll normally find before the storm sort of gets too close is the wind picks up as you get this vacuum of air pulling towards the storm, as the storm itself is pulling in moisture, pulling in oxygen and air, and it causes these gusts. And before the storm even approaches, the wind picks up to such a point that would be very beneficial for a cat like Hosana to stand up and go hunting. In the shot, you can just make out the dam wall in the far background there. Remember, that's where we were earlier. We were just in front of the dam wall. So all of those hundreds of animals that were frolicking in the middle of the open grass area are between that dam and Hosana right now. And as we went in to find him before, at that last place he was seen, all the animals were hanging around and were very relaxed. Barrett, aged 5, you'd like to know baby leopard sleeps for. Well, I'm not 100% sure, Barrett, but essentially what happens is leopards sleep a huge proportion of the day because they fill themselves up, and the youngsters will go through periods of suckling for milk and then napping and then playing and then suckling, playing and then napping in no particular order. Generally they get a bit excited after they've drunk. If they haven't drunk too much, the sugar rush that they get from drinking the milk gives them a bit of an excited spell, and then they collapse, are tired. So they nap on and off sporadically. But what also happens is the mother will leave the babies in a hidden place, and she will go off on her own, and while she's away they keep very, very still. They don't move around, they don't play, so they probably spend most of their time resting and probably going between sleep and stillness. So I hope that answers your question. But leopards in general will sleep for more than 2/3 of the day, sometimes even more. Isn't that such a lazy cat? Such a lazy cat. Mina, I'm not sure if leopards or predators dream. I know for sure that dogs I've seen in the past go through running and hunting dreams as they twitch and run in their sleep. I'm sure they're dreaming of something, but I don't know. I don't know the subconscious of these cats. I wouldn't put it past them. Why wouldn't they dream of impalas and scrub hares and warthogs, or all sorts of other interesting things that might appear in their visions? Why not? I wonder if anyone can prove that leopards don't dream, rather than do they? Can we prove that they don't? Now, that's a good question. Touché, says Kirst. Touché. It's kind of the calmness before the storm. You can feel it's very still around. There's hardly any movement of air. And I'm wondering if that storm is coming towards us. And the bearded woodpecker, since we tried to hear him, has decided that he has done his territorial drumming for the day, and we have not heard him since. You can see the wind just gently playing itself through the trees. Marvelous afternoon. The golden light will soon be on this majestic golden cat. We might even shortly turn to get you a view of the sunset as we sit here on our own, alone in the African wilderness with Hosana. Definitely one of the privileges that we have out here. I know he's not doing too much at the moment, but it's splendid just to be with him, because at any moment he could jump up and be on his way in any direction, who knows. So we will remain with him unless Kirsty tells me otherwise. And the golden light will soon be revealing itself, slowly coming through. It'll be marvelous on the grasses that surround him. A number of different grass species there. Just in the one little area. The diversity just in this little patch. And bear in mind, we are quite close to the dam, so the grass species that you find in these areas are quite resilient to disturbance, and they are actually in fact grass species that indicate disturbance. So a number of pioneer type species, a few subclimax. You're not likely to find too many climax species unless they are sheltered and hidden underneath the trees. And you can see in the front of the shot there the 3-awn grass. That is the reason we wear those funny things on our socks. Well, let's quickly go to Brent and see where he's flying off to.
Well, we've been sitting, waiting. We heard Testicula's alarm calling. We heard Go Away Bird's alarm calling. We started getting excited, and it was a shikra that they were all alarming at, a little predatory bird. But we've just heard Tingana has walked in to Djuma from Torchwood. So we are racing there now. Maybe he'll help us find Tundi. Well, we think it's Tingana. We heard it's a male, so at the moment you never know what it could be. Could it be one of the new little males? Now, of course, with Hukumuri pushing in deeper and deeper, Tingana has the appearance that he might have given up on his territory, Andrew, but he hasn't. However, if hopefully for his sake, he's had a big meal and he's looking strong, then he might think about putting a bit of pressure on Hukumuri. But, however, if he's still sort of a little bit weak, his instinct is to survive, and that is the only instinct in animals that sort of overrules the need to mate, the need to mate. So survival and eating trumps mating and spreading genes. So that is the only one that sort of really trumps that. Now, Vim, are we going to get spoiled with some leopard and lovely light? I'm looking forward to it. I hope so. Hoppa! Now, it should be almost around any bend now. So they said about 1 kilometer from Cheetah cut line, so that's anywhere from just up ahead. Chris, who's driving out of Djuma, is just up ahead of me. We've been working the same areas. Looks like he's right here. Is he? Did he cross that way? There's some... Oh dear. That's not very good, Tinganana. Or is it something else running across the road, maybe? Pretty much looked like a leopard. I'll take your word for it, Ben. Unless it was a very big warthog. I think it might have been a very big warthog, Vim. We're not seeing the other car that's with him. There's some vultures there, but I think they're just shitting. Now, scent marking is a continuous thing, Mina. they're continuously scent marking, but yes, there is a bout of scent marking, sort of more serious scent marking, just after the rain, for two reasons. Firstly, of course, their scent mark has been dampened by the rain, and secondly, because when the ground's a little bit wetter after rain, when they dig it out, the scent will stay a bit longer. Sorry guys, I think this guy's a bit confused about which road he is, because he's telling us he's on Central. We've just driven the whole of Central. Might be... So I'm just going to try to figure out. Sorry, station with Leopard. Confirm if you came from Gowrie, Main, is the first, second or third road to the north of Gowrie, Main. But while I sort this out, let's go across to Tristan in the lines. Okay, copy. Nkuhuma, possibly Mamba. Oh no, you're staying with me. Not Tristan. Yeah, hold on. Boom, boom, boom. Ferrari, Safari. I wish it was for wild dogs, but I will take Leopard. VM's happy for Leopard, I know that. Okay, apparently Tristan has found some signal. So let's send you back to him while we try find out which road the Leopard's on.
Well, good luck with that, Brent. I'm listening to the radio conversation, and it doesn't sound as though the person that has that leopard knows actually where they are. But anyway, I'm sure it'll come right. But how beautiful is that scene? Other than the power line that's running through it, it is as spectacular as you could ask for to have a backdrop for our Nkuhuma Pride. So they're lying right kind of next to the road and having a good nap as we expected them to be. And I'm hoping that because of the situation where they are kind of getting to that point where the sun is starting to set, they're not exactly fat and full, that maybe they're going to get up and start moving. The only problem is where they are now is not going to be very easy to follow them if they head straight north. It gets really thick and really dense. But from the sort of, if they head straight west, it's going to be quite pleasant, because then they go towards Twin Dams, and obviously that's going to be quite nice. So hopefully that will be the case. At this stage, it is a situation where it is kind of quite sort of flat and static and not really much happening. Our young male's having a bit of a kind of nap, and his eyes are a little closed and going to probably fall asleep fairly soon. And it was quite interesting. I saw a video of these guys fighting with the tortured pride, and this little male was right in the thick of it by the looks of things, and he was even giving a little roar as he was going along. So he was not backing down, even though there was multiple other females around in the area. So pretty interesting to kind of see. And it's amazing how, you know, we get the situation where you get certain lions that have far more kind of bravado and bravery than others. So he was right in the thick of it and kind of moving around. Now, a lot of you, I'm sure, have been wondering about, I was saying that I was going to try to get a video of the fight between the sort of leopards, the females, and talking about videos, and I still haven't been sent it. I have asked for it, but I still haven't been sent it. So as soon as I get it, I will try and be able to put it on my phone and then be able to show all of you guys what actually happened and who exactly it was, and then we can confirm. But until such time, it'll just be conjecture, I'm afraid, as to which individual it was. But what a beautiful situation to be in. These lions are lying, maybe not in the best spot. Twin Dams Wall would probably be better, but it's still very pretty. So, sorry, Kirst, if you can just repeat the middle part, you broke up a little bit. Does a cat with? Okay. So, guide monkey, a cat with bad whiskers, I suppose it would slightly affect an ability to detect certain things, but not that much. We had a leopard down in Kirkman's Lion Sands area that's called Nzilo, so she's still alive today. And the reason why she's called Nzilo, which is fire, is because she got caught in a fire. She was silly. The fire was an intentional fire was started, and she ran actually towards the fire rather than away from it, and then had to go up into a tree and lost all her whiskers. She was absolutely fine. There was no other damage to her, but she singed all her whiskers because she was trying to sniff at the fire while she was in the tree, and that then burnt off her whiskers. And it was quite kind of funny to see a cat with no whiskers whatsoever, particularly leopards, because we know leopards